Blackmail Voices, where we discuss the things that hang over the heads of the black community. And one of the first things that we decided we want to talk about that's hanging over the heads of the black community is our fucking jobs. Or the lack thereof. Because I don't have one right now. I'm currently job seeking. And it was actually like a point of discussion for us to even like talk about this because we are job seeking. So it's like, how does this affect my job search while I'm talking about this institution that I previously worked at as I'm trying to look for someone else to possibly employ me? And like, I guess the trepidation that some people will have, you know, with that. So yeah, we were just talking about that before we started recording. Shit.
Yeah, so I'm sure some of you guys are looking, if you don't know me, I'm G. I'm sure some of the people that don't know me are looking like, why is this nigga got on a onesie in the summer? But that's because we're going to be talking about rest. So this episode is Black Boy Rest. We hear a lot about Black Boy Joy, which is important. We hear a lot about Black Boy and Black Girl Magic, also important. But often in, you know, the chaos of life, we forget about rest and how important it is for our experience. And I think for me, I am employed, but my employment is, how would I say, a bit unstable. Right now, I would say I'm in a bit of an unstable experience because what I was told about my employment, as far as the level of employment, my pay, and just the things that I would be allowed to do, was kind of changed arbitrarily at the drop of a hat. And that has also led me to have feelings about that. And I think that while we're talking about Black Boys and rest, we're going to talk a bit about what that means in light of the experiences that we have had. So
yeah, like whenever I think about rest, I just think about how revolutionary it is in nature because of the way in which black people were brought to this country. You know what I'm saying? Like, they were brought here against their will, forced to do labor, amongst other things, you know. And the idea of rest was it was a tool to be utilized just so that people can continue to work. Like, and it's ever since like black people have been here, everything has been about service to the empire, or white supremacy, or both. And so like this idea, even right now, of like me looking for jobs, but like not using every waking second of my life to do that, like to spend time to my family, like, you know, like before this, or to go for a jog, or just go for a walk, you know, like that is revolutionary because I'm returning to myself and my soul and who I am as a person, and not just trying to utilize myself for the system.
Right. So I'm gonna take a little step back because I would like for us to define rest so that we all have like, you know, just a level playing field of understanding of what we mean by rest. So I'm pulling from Merriam-Webster, and the definition 2 defines rest as freedom from activity or labor. And definition 4, which I think is also important, and I think we'll talk about it a little bit later, is peace of mind or spirit. So I think that when most people hear the word rest as it relates to people, they think about freedom from activity or labor. And I think that is something that we need to discuss a little bit in some more detail, just because so much of our conversation about rest and care and leisure is about how we spend money, as you said, in preparation to do more labor. And right here, when we're talking about labor, we're not just talking about the ability to do work that is contributing to a community or society. We're talking about being tools or mechanisms in the hand of the capitalist machinery.
Right.
Because so much of our like rest is in preparation for more exploitation.
Right.
And so much of our work is about like preparing for rest, because people are like, I am living for my vacation. And then you get to your vacation, which is supposed to be your rest time, and you spend that whole time.
You're catching up on work.
You're either catching up on work or you're dreading work.
Yes.
And even if we're thinking about like outside of vacation time, just so much of the week is the work week. It's like I'm living for the weekend. You get to the weekend and you're on Sunday. You can't use that day for rest because it's like I have to prep. You got to prep for work.
Yep.
So I want you to, if you could, talk a little bit about like your experience with work and how that is now like making you reframe the way that you're thinking about rest in your life.
I would say like at my last job, I used so much of my life was devoted to work. Like I'm talking about like 60 plus hours every week. Like, I'm getting there before the office opens. I'm leaving when other people are already gone. I'm missing bedtime. I'm missing dinner. I'm missing going to the park. I'm missing Muay Thai. I'm missing things that I enjoy for a job that just is like, fuck you, you're done. Like, you're done. That's you had a good run. And it just kind of make me think about the things that I missed that were like one-time things. Like as an example, like my line brother, his line name was Cold Case, and that's because like he always had aspirations of going to law school. Well, he finished. You know what I'm saying? He graduated and he wasn't far. He was in Houston. But like I couldn't go literally because of work. And now I don't have the fucking job that I couldn't go to the graduation for. And so it's like, it just makes me want to, as I'm doing, like, it just makes me reframe my priorities. It's like some things are going to be here and you're going to have to live with no matter what. And that's like relationship. But the way that we're socialized as men is not to prioritize the relationships. It's like, bro, just get the job and just get the money. But it's like, but when you get the money, who you gonna spend it on? The people you got relationships with. Because again, anybody who get rich by yourself, like you're a target. You know what I'm saying? Like you're not, because everybody else who's rich, they got rich in community. You know what I'm saying? Everybody grew up so that we can protect each other. You know what I'm saying? And ourselves. But if you just rich by yourself, again, you either a hoe to be used by somebody else, or you're a target. You wait to get flipped. Pretty much, it's just a matter of when. So
it's either you fucking or you being fucked.
I mean, that's literally
it's a fuck or be fucked world.
It's a fuck or be fucked world. I mean, ain't that what like Tupac said? He like, I'm hoeing too. Yeah, nigga, like you tricking something. Like it's all selling or marketing something, and that's why I do appreciate this time because it's like I can step out of that. You know what I'm saying? Like even if it's just for a few weeks. You know what I'm saying? Right. And that's why I wanted to get this shit done because when we do rest, the reason why it is radical is because, I see rest as short for restoration. You know what I'm saying? Like, we can return to who we are as people. Like, and doing stuff like this is like part of what we get or can be created or imagined when we do rest.
Yeah. And I want to add on to that, and I think that it's so... One of the things that when we think about rest that I think that we need to restructure our minds about is that we think of ourselves still as tools within a capitalist system. And for one to truly rejuvenate and truly rest, one must see oneself as independent of the labor that they do in service of that system. Because if not, all of your rest is going to be about the system.
Service to the system.
It is going to be either self-indulgent or it is going to be consumeristic, right? Because so much of the things when we think about rest and, we have the self-care label, we have the self-care movement, and that is so much popular now, and it is important and it is revolutionary, specifically for people of color, and even more specifically for women and people who have diverse gender identities and sexualities and sexual experiences, because so much of your experience is codified by the capitalist machine.
Correct.
And so I think that the self-care movement is important because it allowed us to kind of have discussions about what care for yourself and what you should do within this space of rest. However, and I think that that's a lot of what care is talking about what we should do in the space that we call rest. But so much of that is just consumeristic, right?
Yeah.
So
it was couched within a neoliberalist context.
Right, and that is because that's the society in which we live, and many people can't conceptualize anything outside of that. So when people think of self-care, they think of going on vacation. They think about going to pay for a massage. They think about bath salts. They think about candles.
Going to Hawaii when Hawaiian niggas told you,
please don't
come to fucking Hawaii.
On God, don't come again. You know what I'm saying? So it's so much of that is about how can I spend money.
Right.
You know, so much of our care is about a performance. How does, like, I am performing care for other people so that they know I'm signaling to them I have enough money to live or appear to live a certain life of leisure or a certain level of leisure. That is not what rest should be about. That's not what care should be about. Care should be about thinking of, and rest should also be about thinking of the things that are causing us exhaustion, especially these characteristics of a system that are weighing upon us, and working to mitigate the effects of the capitalist system so that our lives do not have to be a cycle of exploitation and then retrieval from it and then exploitation again. It should be creating and building community so that almost like, a flock of birds that are flying and migrating, so that I can go to the tail end, like I flew a little bit because we are all going in one direction. That direction is helping everyone.
Correct.
I am tired. I don't have to burn myself out.
Right.
I am tired right now. I go to the end. I flap a little bit. We're all lifted, and we all continue to rest because we're resting in the community.
Yeah.
And that community is giving us that, that system of care.
And even that as a concept, I think, is something poignant to point out that even if you do take rest as an individual, that you don't do it in like isolation, that you try to seek comfort in shared space, you know, and I think to your point about like the consumerist nature and capitalist nature of our society, like I think that isolation and individualism in our rest allows us to be targets for the system yet again. Like, and it just becomes this perpetual cycle of like exhaustion, seek rest, comfort seeking behaviors in actuality, and then like the feeling of emptiness.
Real
and
shit.
You want to feel substantive again and meaningful, so you go back to work again to feel useful to somebody, because you can't feel useful to yourself, which is like, again, it's a removal of the self from the soul, from the spirit. And I do think that is why rest is so important to who we are as human beings, And I always try to approach stuff from a humanistic perspective, because at the end of the day, when we talk about civil rights, or we talk about trans rights, or we talk about queer folks' rights, or we talking about indigenous rights, all we're talking about is who gets to be seen as human and who doesn't. And that includes rest. I would say even like rest is acknowledgement of the divine within the self. Even within the Bible, Christ rested. You know what I'm saying? God, the creator of all, rested. So something about not resting and hustle culture, it's just, again, it's inherently unnatural. It's unnatural and it's indivine. You know what I'm saying? It's blasphemous to a certain extent.
I'm not going to disagree with you, but I am going to push back a little bit.
All right.
And the reason I say this is because one of the things I did want to talk about is how hustle culture is diametrically opposed to rest. Because, like, I just think about, I'm a chronically online nigga. For the people that don't know, I'm chronically online. So much so that Mark Zuckerberg said, I'm taking your online privileges away. And he sent me to Facebook jail forever. And I had to, get new IPs and shit so that I could get back on there. So that's another problem for another day. However, when you was on there on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram, if you was up and you was on like Twitter After Dark for black people, you were guaranteed to see a nigga who's talking about y'all sleep, I'm up hustling. And it's like, bro, shut up. You know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to hear that shit. But so much of capitalism is about working yourself to death, burning yourself out in hopes that by doing or performing this labor, I can be allowed to rest by the capitalist system in some indeterminate future. And that is part of, like you say, neoliberalism. But Max Weber wrote about a book that's called Capitalism and the Protestant Work Ethic. And within this book, he talks about how our very unique idea of labor and the Protestant idea of individualism have culminated in this belief that being able to labor and the money that you get from that labor are an inherent good. So the amount of money that you have is proportionate to the amount of good that you are, which is proportionate to the amount of labor that you do. This is basically like taking that one verse that's like, who does not work should not eat, and taking it to like the most ridiculous extent.
Right.
And what that ends up being is we think of people who are billionaires or millionaires who have money as good people. And because they are good people, they have more money. So they are afforded rest. However, the rest of us who are laborers, who are, we see us, we are working harder than anyone. And in the time when this was made, in the 18 and 1700s, there were slaves. You know that slaves were working harder than anyone.
Harder than fucking anyone.
So why were these people not seen as inherently good? If the Protestant work ethic is the manifestation of Christ within, and your ability to do labor and work hard are an inherent good, then why are the people who are working the hardest seeing zero fruits of their, not the least fruits of their labor, seeing zero fruits of their labor?
Because capitalism is inherently anti-Christ. But that's a whole different conversation.
I'm not taking it there. I'm not taking it there. But what I will say is that this idea that we have that we must hustle is just the brainchild, of this Protestant work ethic, and it is an antithesis to rest. So we need to think of ourselves differently. We need to reorient ourselves in a social order, in a spiritual order, and we need to think of rest not as something that is a reward for labor, but as something that is, like you said, it is restoration. It is reclamation. It is, this time is sequestered. It is.
That's it.
We chilling. What y'all doing? Nothing. That's it. If you not coming over here to do nothing, fuck you.
Man. and rest is deeply ancestral too. Like, and I'm gonna reference Peace Corps for this one, but like, when it get too fucking hot or cold in rural Africa, no one's doing anything. Like, nothing's happening. It's like, what do you mean? It's too hot. Like, literally, people are laying under trees on straw mats because it's 100 degrees. And these people supposed to be at work. They supposed to be doing this. No, we're chilling because it's fucking hot. And you can tell that, like, this is like a deeply intergenerational thing of like, just it's gonna be there. Like, the work is gonna be there. In a couple of hours, the sun will start setting over that mountain, and then we'll get to work from 3 until 9 p.m.
Right.
And then that'll be done. But we're not gonna work straight through the middle of the day in the middle of the sun. And again, just for me, seeing that, experiencing that, just really like pointed to me again just how deeply our minds are colonized and taken from us, to where like when we even think of rest, we think of lunch. You know what I'm saying?
30 minutes.
30 minutes. And then other than that, oh, you stealing time. What do you mean I'm stealing time? Like, I work every single day. I work every single day.
But I think too, to kind of reaffirm what you're saying, in many other places that are social, or maybe not even like socialist, but rural, these are people who is like, they are poor by our standards, but they are not poverty, because the labor that they do is giving them a return. And I'm not going to do more than I need. Why would I produce more food than can be consumed by me and my neighbors? I'm not going to just continue to work because I have time. I work till I've done enough, and then I do no more. And that is also biblical. That is also biblical. You do just enough and do no more.
Literally, when we were going there, before we went there, we were told 78% of the youth population is unemployed. So you're hearing that, you're like, oh shit. So we got 10 motherfuckers in the room, 8 of them ain't got a job. Like, oh, it's poverty everywhere.
Right.
Like you said, oh no, it turns out they just own their land for 10 generations, so they don't have to work unless they want to work. If they want to work, they go out and they get enough to buy whatever additional things. But once you buy land, you have land. Like, once you have a big JoJo water tank, you fill it up, it's done. Like, after that, you just catch rain. And it's like, it's just more sustainable living. But America, the way that it's set up, you buy land, okay, but you got to keep paying taxes. The taxes might increase, the property might decrease in value. So it's like all these different things pull you back into the workplace, pull you back into the working space, and it punishes you, again, not for being impoverished, but for being poor. You know what I'm saying? To the point where they create poverty because you're poor. And then you're in a situation where, like, now you got to re-enter the workplace again. And again, it's like you're more disadvantaged because the things that you had initially, you were robbed of. And I think that's another we got to talk about this too. Like, another reason why black people, specifically black men, hesitate to rest is when we do, shit get taken from us. Okay? Let's fucking talk about it. Like, you go, you work, you get a house, the white people come, they burn your fucking house down. Like, okay, well, now we right back in the situation again. Oh, and we gotta move 4, 5, 6 states over and change our names and like do all this other shit. And so it's like this idea of black men having to hustle and not wanting to rest isn't for naught. You know what I'm saying? Like it's very valid.
And I also want to I'm gonna put a little spin on this because this is not just as in regard to the workplace. This kind of mentality kind of trickles on into relationships as well, right? Because so many relationships are about whether or not somebody is employed. And there's a very specific subset of people who feel that if you are not working with your hands as a man, then what you're doing does not matter. So if you're not working with your hands, if you're not working hard, you're coming in dog tired, then your labor does not matter. Right. And there are many conversations about that, and we see so many men's identity is about their labor. Either they're laboring or they're doing nothing. They're not even resting, they're just doing nothing. You know what I'm saying? Not rejuvenation or recharge. It's just the labor and then nothingness. There's no intentionality, and I think rest.
If you do anything else, then you're gay.
Right? No, on God, because why are you at the bar?
To be with other men.
Other men, gay shit. That's what I got to say. If you do work and then you go back out and do something else, what?
Gay shit.
Gay.
Hey,
stop it.
You playing a video game with who?
With who?
Them niggas, huh?
Your boys. That's what you call them, your boys?
You hating them. I'm sorry, you hate women.
Hate women because you're gay. Because you're gay. You is chilling, watching anime, watching little what?
Cartoons.
Little cartoons.
Watching them little cartoons.
Young boys. Gay. That's all. But the thing is that there's so much of gender identity and gender performance as it relates to men is, are you working all the time? Like you did your work, you get off. Time for the side hustle. Okay? Yeah. After you do your side hustle, time for your third job. Get to Uber. You know what I'm saying? Then your hobby. You gotta make money off your hobby.
And that makes you a good man.
That's what a good man is. A good man is somebody who works all the time.
Yep.
And rest, leisure, play, care, that's women's realm.
Correct.
This is the realm of the spirit. This is the realm of relationships. Very gay. Very gay. Men don't need to have relationships. Men don't need to have rest. What you resting for? You telling me you put your arm like this and put your... Stop it. What you doing?
You lay down on your stomach with your ankles crossed up.
And your booty up. What you doing? Stop. John Jacob Hammer Smith. Stop. Jack B. Nimble, Jack B. Quick. Jumping over the candlestick. Stop it. That's not what... As a man, why are you not hurting yourself right now?
Right. In service to others.
In service, not to others, to the capitalist system. Right? Yeah. Some of that goes to your partner or your child.
Yeah, that's what's allowed, permitted.
That's okay. You know what I'm saying? But you gotta be late. And I think that this also hits many industries. We were talking a little bit earlier about Chris Johnson, who was recently diagnosed with ALS. And just about how there's very clear links between playing football and ALS. between playing football and CTE, between playing football and double knee replacements, sleep apnea, all of these things. When I first began like watching football, of course I watched it passively because it's like that's what you do with your dad. But when I remember actively watching football, there was a person that was playing and he was on an O line, and the commentators were talking about how he had to have a CPAP machine because he had sleep apnea. This man was like 29. You know what I'm saying? He had to have a mask, right? He was like and sleep apnea is an early symptom of CTE, right? I remember watching a game when a man went to make a tackle. He spear tackled him, and he broke his neck on the field. Like he broke his neck on the field, and he was paralyzed from that day on. And I think that once again, when we talk about labor and what is seen as like masculine and what boys are allowed to do, football is something where we know that your time is limited, not just because you're going to retire, but because one, the amount of insurance that you have after you retire, it is like you get 3 years of insurance, I believe, in football after you retire. And after that, you have to find your own insurance. And we know that these people are going to be sick for the rest of their lives. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that you're putting your body on the line every single play. It's a car crash, every play. So these are people who, once again, are being expected to sacrifice their bodies for many years for the entertainment of not just the masses, because of course the masses, but also for billionaires. You know, I will make you a millionaire. You're going to die when you're 40. But you get to be a millionaire.
Hunger Game shit.
Hunger Game shit. You know what I'm saying? Battle Royale type beat. And that also, I think, is something that makes rest a reward for killing yourself. Makes rest a reward for, okay, you've allowed the capitalist system to extract labor for you for the last 5 or 6 years. So I'll make you a millionaire, but I'm going to constantly increase the cost of living. I know that you're going to be sick. I'm going to remove your insurance, so you're going to go bankrupt. You know, so once again, and you're gonna have CTE. You're gonna need a double knee replacement. So maybe you'll be out 5 years, 10 years, but when your taxes keep coming due, or you keep paying your mortgage on your multi-million-dollar home, and the money dries up, you're going to be exploited differently. And the goalpost for rest will be moved further away from you. It'll be inaccessible.
Yes. I would say, like, expanding this from just black men, the most recent situation that happened with Dustin Poirier in the airport is another great example of it, of like how men are trained from a young age to labor to the point of death. And if they don't die, even if they do get the heaven on earth, they don't even know what the fuck to do with themselves. Like, and I mean, he's a great example of that because he's talked about like his challenges and struggles and like retirement, and he doesn't know who he is. And it's just like, it's just very interesting to be able to reach like the height of your career and like be viewed as a champion in many people's eyes, but inside still feel like there's an emptiness because you're not laboring. You know what I'm saying? Specifically one that like relates to like violence and that creates certain like neural pathways and like triggers certain like things within the body as far as chemicals, and like you reach a certain place, a certain high. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm saying that as someone who is a fighter yourself, like, if you're an adrenaline junkie 100%, like, you know, go get some gloves and go fucking have at it, you know? But like, being on the highest level of doing that and being useful to the industry, and then feeling less useful, right? And like, now you're doing the commercials and shit, you know what I'm saying? Or like, you're just a coach at a gym, and it's like, I used to be, you know, and no one wants to be the used to be. You want to be the still ours. But I think that's how we get in those situations where you start lashing out in those particularly violent ways that men do, right? Because like, you don't know what to do. And I mean, veterans do this, right? Former police do this, right? Like, it's not specific to people who were professional athletes. I feel like this is an everyday man issue where it's like, even when we do get rest, again, we don't know what the fuck to do with ourselves.
No, because so much of your identity is in the opposite of rest. And I don't think that work necessarily is the opposite of rest, but exploitation or being exploited is. Because I think that in rest in work we can rest. You know what I'm saying? Man. I feel like, sometimes you at work, you did it, like we did enough, we talk, we shoot, we shoot. I go, I'm chilling. Or, we chilling together. That to me is still work, because building relationships and community with somebody else, that is work in a sense, because it takes intentionality to maintain it. But I don't see that necessarily as quote unquote labor, and it is not quote unquote exploitation. We can rest in the work of building relationships. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. However, like you're saying, so much of our identity as men, this is in general for anybody who is laboring under the gravity of capitalism. Right. Your identity in the public sector is about what you do for work. And when that is removed from you, you lose your sense of identity. Correct. And that is why, as you said, back to what you're saying, rest is an act of reclamation, but also it is an act of creating oneself. Because for so many people, they don't have an identity outside of work, and that begins when you're a kid. You know what I'm saying? Because and then your work is going to school or playing a sport or performing a talent or skill, and that becomes your identity very early on, right? Because you and me, we went to Ryan. You're smart kids, that's your whole thing. You're going to be a smart kid, you're going to be a smart kid, you're going to be a lawyer, you're going to be a doctor, you're going to be a teacher. That's what you're going to do.
Right.
You got some other kids, they grew up a little bit rougher. Basketball, football, baseball. That's what you're going to do. That's your identity. Football, baseball, basketball. Football, baseball, basketball. And there's no as a boy you're so kind. That's your identity, you're kind.
Right.
There's no you're so good at making friends. That's not a thing. There's not a thing of everybody feels so welcome around you.
You're great at de-escalating conflict.
You're a fantastic storyteller. None of that. None of that's happening. Yeah. It is your work. You do good math. You do good reading. And if you're talking too much. Because talking takes them away from work. Building relationships, that's taken away from work.
That's true.
Now girls, you can talk a little bit more. But still, your identity is both and.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Because your talking has to be useful.
Yeah, but it's you have your labor, you're a good reader, you're good reading stories and stuff, but just also if you're a girl who is good at making friends and keeping people happy, then that is something that people are going to write on your report card.
Man.
You know what I'm saying? They're going to write that on your report card.
That's true.
If you're a boy and you're doing that, you're gay. As a kid,
or you're the funny guy. So it's
that's another thing. The only way that you can do that and not have your identity that is about labor is to be funny.
Which is also labor.
Yeah, it is. It's emotional labor.
Yeah, being funny is work.
But so it's especially for so many men, your identity from this whole time is that you're good at school, so you need to go to school route, and that's who you are. Or you're good at sports, so you need to go to sports route. And if you make it to middle school, high school, and you have not blossomed with sports, you have not blossomed with the performance, art, or talent, then it's the plant right here, because we're in Louisiana, you know what I'm saying, Baton Rouge, New Orleans.
Plant work, education, healthcare, CDL. Look, if you don't have a degree, you better go get your TWIC. Yeah.
You get your CDL.
Get your OSHA.
Those are options, and so much about who we are is just that. Yeah. And it takes intentionality to find and reclaim that. And like you said, and once again, like you said, it's not just sports people, even though we see it a lot in sports people. It is also there are people who are rich, who are no longer doing what they were doing. They don't know how to be. One of the things that I'm studying in school, I'm working on ed leadership, and we're talking about businesses, and we're talking about one of the things we're talking about was succession. And one of the issues with succession is, and this don't even have to be I was in school, I learned about succession and things of this nature. If you have watched any of those shows, Game of Thrones, Succession, Pop, the people who are in charge have a hard time letting go. And it's not just because they don't trust the people that are behind them. It is because this work is my identity. And once again, going back to like, we talk about this, we talk about the schooling. So many of us know people who they retired and died because they don't know who they are. I've lost my sense of identity because I'm no longer working. You know, and rest allows you to find and create and build intentionally that identity. And as Audre Lorde said near the end of her life, when she was battling cancer, and she wrote A Burst of Light and other essays. In the epilogue, she says that caring for myself is not self-indulgence, it's self-preservation, and that is an act of political warfare. That is resistance.
Man.
Because you are defining yourself outside of the labor that you do for the system, or outside of the labor that you do for the people that you're in relationship with. You are more than what you do. We all are more than what we do. And that's important for black boys to be able to know, hear, and understand that you are more than your usefulness to a system, to a job, to a woman, to a child, to your father. You're more than those things.
I remember there was one particular time, and this was like a big part of our identities growing up, but like mom kind of asking us to do things like either for her or for other people. And there was one particular time, it was somebody's football game or something, but we were up in the stands and somebody's mom needed to get something out of the car, and mom turned to me and she was like, go help her. And I had previously asked her like to stop doing that. Like, you know, like, can you first like have a conversation with me before you just like volunteer me off, like, you know, you like your little fucking slave nigga. Like, literally.
Sin Desmond, my good nigga.
No, literally. Like, you know, that shit, like, you know, I don't know, you just reach a certain point in like consciousness where it's like, can this just be about the relationship? You know what I'm saying? Like, and can there be an idea of a possibility of me saying no? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, can
it don't mean I'm gonna say no. Just let me think I got the option.
But again, it just for men, labor is not an option and it's not consensual. You know what I'm saying? But again, this concept,
not consensual.
But it's that concept that leads men to do shit non-consensual and feel like it's cool. It's like I don't have a right to say no to this. So later on, I expect women not to say no to this. But it's like, no, but you going at the equation backwards, my nigga. You should have said no when you had the right to say no, because don't be mad at her that she using the fact that she got the right to say no when she did it. Everybody don't have to play the system game. And I remember that moment because the way mom looked at me, nigga, she could have slapped the piss out of me. She would have. But I remembered it because it was really a point of me reclaiming my identity as a human being. And me just being like, no. Like, I said no. And she was like, what did you say? And then the mom, I forget whose mom was, but she was like, no, it's okay. Like, she was like, I don't want this shit.
Please, don't make it a scene. Don't make it a scene
anymore. But it's like, but for me, that was so important, and I use that as an example for black men or black boys watching this. Like, man, use your voice, and if you need rest, take it. Like, but what are some things like for you that are like strategies or techniques that you use for rest, or that you would recommend for like other black boys or black men?
Man, for me, rest really begins with, like I said, intentionality. So this is my time to rest. Like that's my thing. Is like the way we schedule. I gotta be here. I gotta do that. I gotta do that. I gotta do that. I schedule time for rest. So I'm like, this is the time where I am just chilling, and whatever rest look like for me, that's what it look like for me. So if that means like I'm playing the game. Because that's what I want to do, I'm going to play the game. If it means I'm watching TV, then I'm watching TV. If that means hanging with my friends, I'm hanging with my friends. But to me, that means like creating, building, and reclaiming an identity outside of someone's idea of usefulness with regards to me. So that also means taking care of my body, you know. So that may mean working out, drinking water, intention, like going and be like, I have to drink more water, getting like just thinking about what I'm putting into my body and thinking about that not in terms of like this will make me useful for labor more, but this will help me to enjoy my experience of my life more.
Come on.
You know what I'm saying? Because
come on.
To me, if I die today in this body, it was a great ride because it is useful and I've done the things that I wanted to do to make the life that I wanted to make outside of my labor.
Yep.
But if I live 100 years and I didn't enjoy any of it because I was only doing the healthy things or the quote-unquote right things, to me that is not rest. That's just labor again. You know what I'm saying?
Living well.
It is. It's living well, but it's also well also means fun.
Yes.
You know,
yeah.
so like everything in balance, everything in consort, everything in conversation. And I think that rest is also a dialogue. I think rest is a dialogue with the people around you and the relationships around you. I think it is dialogue with the spaces that we inhabit. I think it is dialogue with oneself. It is telling yourself that right now we're chilling. You may feel like you need to hustle. You may feel like you need to grind. But that will be ineffective if you are not present in the moment. And rest is about presence as well. So when I'm trying to rest, I'm also trying to be mindful. Like, so if I'm playing a game, I play Elden Ring. So if anybody know anything about Elden Ring, very frustrated game. So, but when I'm doing it, I know it's a game. I allow myself to be frustrated. And I like that I allow myself to be frustrated because that means that I'm not suffocating or suppressing myself so that I can appear more useful to somebody else. And when I say that is because, you know, like as a person, sometimes it's like you in a space, you cannot say that something hurt your feelings or it made you mad or it made you angry or it frustrated you, because someone will look at that and they'll be like, oh, you're less useful because you're talking about your feelings and your feelings are not manifested in a way that is beneficial or easy for me to do, or it is affecting the way I view myself. So I allow myself to feel all of those feelings. But that also means that when I'm in a space, I'm not going to allow those feelings to coalesce. I'm going to, like, if something is hurting me or making me feel a type of way for me in that moment, rest means release. I'm releasing that feeling. I'm telling you, hey, when you did that, you really fucked me up. I really didn't like that. I didn't care for it. So please don't do it again. So I'm allowing myself to rest in my work. I'm allowing myself to rest in my relationships. I'm allowing myself to rest when I'm alone. I'm thinking intentionally, but I'm not doing it laboriously. When I'm sleeping, I am quieting my mind. I'm not thinking about the things I have to do tomorrow because tomorrow's problems are for tomorrow's me. Today's me needs to put my head on the pillow. And that's kind of how I approach rest. And like I say, I try to do everything with intention. Even when I'm being silly and stupid, I'm doing that with intention. And for me, being silly, like wearing this, I know a lot of people see me and they be like, that nigga is crazy as hell all the time. People are like, that nigga's crazy as hell. But for me, that's rest. Everything that is around us is so serious all the time. It's like if I don't work, I'm gonna die. If I don't have relationships, I'll be alone. If I'm not doing something fun, I'll be sad. So for me, I'm trying to trivialize everything.
Fuck it.
Fuck it. I'm trying to make everything silly because I don't want to take life so seriously. Because I'm going to die at the end of it anyways. I need to have a good time. So for me, that means like I'm resting intentionally. And I would even say your boy that'll just play the music. You know what I'm saying? I think that can be rest too, as long as it's not performance. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's an important aspect of it too. And when I say performance, there we go. I appreciate him.
Shit,
I think too that
we ain't monetizing this one.
I think too sometimes when we think about when I say performance, what I mean is like sometimes a nigga be playing music to prove that he cool to his niggas or to prove that like, you know, to make people want him. I don't like, to me that's not rest. Even if you chilling, that's not rest.
Yeah, no, it can be.
But if you're doing it for you, like this is what I want to listen to. I'm listening to girl music right now. You know, I'm listening to SZA. Shit, that's rest because I'm not doing that for nobody. I'm not doing that to prove to nobody that I'm cool, I'm the manliest man. I'm doing this because I want to. Like whatever it is that you want to do outside of like, you know, women don't like that. People gonna think I'm weird. People gonna think I'm... What do you want to do that brings you pleasure and joy that is not causing harm to somebody else? Rest in that. Allow yourself
rest in the rest.
Yes, allow yourself to fall into it. Allow it to envelop you. hold you gently.
Yeah.
That to me is like how I intentionally rest. So what about you?
So something I do, like you said, I think a lot of it is mental. I don't think it's what you do; it's where it comes from. So for me, something that I do a lot is run. Like I love to go run. You know, a lot of people they be like, just the fucking thought of running is laborious for them. But for me, like I don't know, like I relace my shoes every single time I go running. Like I don't actually take the shoelaces completely out, but I loosen them up from the top to the bottom, and I do it all again. And I do that every single time because it's just like you want to get into a bed that's made up. Like if my foot is going to be traveling like 6 to 10 miles in this shoe, I want to feel like this fucking shoe is laced around my foot, and my foot feels comfortable for these 10-mile ride.
That's meditative in a way.
But that's literally why I do it. Like it's like similar to like when like you're fighting or like you're sparring, it's like wrapping your hands. Like the wrapping of your hands is supposed to be a very meditative thing, and it tells you about where you are mentally right now today. You know what I'm saying? Because you never wrap your hands the same way twice exactly. So like maybe you was rushing, so you fucked up your thumb, and now your thumb is tight in the glove and shit. So it's like, but going back to running, like for me, like the act of running is an act of like release. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm letting go of the day, my emotions. I'm breathing through all of it, you know, and so like that's a real big one for me.
Rest as release.
Rest as release. You know, like you gotta. I mean, that's something I feel like you spoke on throughout this, but rest doesn't have to be passive. Like it can be very active. You know, it can be rapping. It could be playing your music. It could be creating. It doesn't matter what it is. Like it's again, it's where it comes from and why you're doing it. You know, if you're doing this to perform for other people, like you said, you're not resting because your mind is constantly calculating. Again, like this double consciousness referencing Du Bois. You know, like where you're looking at yourself through the eyes of others, where you're measuring one's soul through the tape of a world that looks on with amused contempt and pity. You know, so these people are disgusted by your performance, but they're amazed by it too simultaneously. And for so many of us, the thug concept, the nigga concept, the nerd concept, the geek concept, whatever the fuck it is, we live in other people's heads rent free. You know what I'm saying? But we live in their head rent free in ours. You know what I'm saying? Like we think that they thinking about us, so we're trying to act out against their concept of us. And
that's something we need to add to the motherfucking list too.
I mean, I think it's so important, and I'm gonna kind of list my things, but I'm gonna segue into a little bit of like a Q&A because someone sent me a question I think relates to this. But some other things I do too is like gather. You know, I think it's so important for men to gather, and like it ain't gotta fucking be again about being productive. We not talking about trading or fucking forex. We're not talking about what's that betting shit like
Kalashi,
all this shit that niggas do. We're not talking about fucking Bitcoin. We're not talking about AI. We just fucking chilling, bro. Like, and it could be sports related, and it could be a fucking game night. You know, like again, we know that there's a lot of shrinking third spaces. So
if you're not in a circle with 10 millionaires, you in the wrong circle.
Well, motherfucker, I'm not gonna be the 11th because I don't have 10 millionaires. And it's like, and I guess, and this is the other thing too. Oh, we talk about things that you do for rest. I literally reflect and meditate on my fucking values. You know, like I think that's another thing that we don't talk about enough. When we talk about like what labor does and how it removes you from yourself, that's why niggas start making choices that they don't even themselves fucking agree with, because you're so removed. There's a book I got over there called Columbus and Other Cannibals, and it talks about this idea of humanity that came from colonialism, where you consume, you know, beyond the natural order of consumption, where it's to survive. And of course there's some measure of killing for sport, but that's not in the mass. What the fuck you see animals doing? We just you don't see an anteater like, okay, we wiping out this whole shit today, like whole fucking
fuck every ant in an 8 mile radius.
Oh God, niggas
they have to see me.
You know, it's unnatural, you know. But it's like, again, like, but we get all this from these ideas of colonialism and patriarchy and masculinity, and so like again, just gathering just to be. I think meditating on my humanity is something else that I do to like rest. Seeing myself as precious. You know what I'm saying? Like myself as weak, myself as insecure, myself as vulnerable, and that's okay. That is the human, the reality of things. I think a powerful quote that I picked up on is everyone is able-bodied temporarily. And so like eventually shit gonna start fucking breaking down. You know what I'm saying? Like right now I'm thinking about some injuries that I got and it's just like
my man, right now.
Yeah, I don't know if this motherfucker gonna get better till I go to see glory, my nigga. I just don't know. You know, but it's like, but it's cool because it allows me to reflect on when everything was working well, how fucking grateful I was when everything was working well, and like to understand that like it's okay to have this I'm not less useful. You know what I'm saying? If I am, so fucking what? Like, for who? You know what I'm saying? Like, for me to accomplish my goals, well, maybe my goals need to change if this allows me to still see myself as worthy or as valuable. And so, again, for me, a lot of rest is a mental reframing of who I am, not as a man, but just as a human fucking being. I gotta be a human being. I was born a human being. I'm gonna die a human being, hopefully. And so whatever I can do mentally to keep my humanity, I feel like is in my best interest, but also in the best interest of my community. Because if I can't see my humanity, I'm not trying to fucking see yours. Like, I don't care. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, you get to be human, but I don't. But this feeds back into the capitalist system of who gets to be human and who doesn't. But
that also goes back into the rest because people who aren't human don't deserve rest.
Don't need it. That's why y'all niggas so strong. you know, rest. But the question that I got, it was from a friend, and I think I told you about it. I ain't gonna say his name.
Hold on. Mail call. Mail call.
So the question I got was from a friend, and I ain't gonna say his name, but to paraphrase a bit of what he was talking about, I said something online about sending black kids to majority white schools and calling it opportunity. And I was saying that I was speaking out against it because, like, again, the mental, as people who did go to a majority white or predominantly white high school, we know that there's a level of mental labor that you have to go through. Gymnastics, whether it's the administration, the teachers, or the students, and putting that on a child who doesn't consent to that, or isn't aware of the gravitas of that, I feel like it's negligent and irresponsible as black and brown people specifically to do that in a larger colonial system. And yeah, like, what's your take on it?
I first want to start off because when you said that, I thought about something that I wanted to say. You do not have to be white to be an agent of white supremacy. And sometimes some of the most heinous white supremacist takes will come out of the darkest, biggest, blackest lips you ever see. And I really hate to say that, but we all have to first check ourselves and think about how we are all inundated with assumptions that things that are white in nature are inherently better, or even a concept of what it means to be white or what it means to be black. But I do think that when we talk about how this relates to rest, I think that there's a certain level of camaraderie that happens when black people are in concert with other black people that allows us to rest in our blackness and allows that blackness to rest because it is something that is assumed. You know what I'm saying? We all have similar experiences with relation to being, like you said, the double consciousness as elucidated by W.E.B. That underneath this umbrella, this imperialistic monster that we call America, the United States of America, we all have similar experiences and we have similar words for that experience. I can rest in that without having to constantly explain or defend my experience. Correct. And I call that is one aspect of rest. As far as it relates directly to doing that, I feel like that is not something that I would personally do, and I have had friends who have said that they want to do that, and I almost always advise them, not to, and that is simply because first we have to think about the way that we define opportunity. And when people are saying that they want to send their kid to a school because that school has more opportunities, what are we saying? We're saying that that school has resources that are concentrated there. And that concentration of resources is because they have been historically favored, while other schools and places have been historically shunned because they are white. So we know that if we send our kid to this school because of those resources, and those resources are concentrated in those spaces because the people who are there are white and have historically monopolized those resources, then we know that the burden of proof and the measure of entry is whiteness. Period. Or usefulness to whiteness. So what that means is that black boys will have to launder their black identities to gain space within these white spaces.
You can go to Episcopal on a football scholarship.
On a football scholarship. But you are still going to be called a nigga. Or, if you're not called a nigga, you have to allow the white people to say nigga. Because as you once again launder your blackness or sell it wholesale, you allow yourself to have entry into these spaces. And we often see this because many black women, when they say that they're in those spaces, black girls that are in those spaces, they say that white boys are asking them out as jokes, and those white boys are being allowed to do that by black boys. When the white boys are calling black girls things, the black boys are chiming in, or they are being silenced. Because for me to be able to be in camaraderie with you, I have to do that. I have to
be complicit in this shit.
Yeah, I have to sell my blackness to you. And black women and black girls are not afforded that opportunity at the same vein. No. Because they have double consciousness. White women are already below white men. And we see this ritual aspects of this play out every single day in the way that they talk about white women. But black women cannot rest in the fact that I am at least white. So at the very least, you're going to protect me. They can't rest in the fact that I'm at least man. So we have the identity of man in common. They are the furthest reaches removed from white men. So they are the easiest target to punch down upon.
Correct.
And that is why I often say, like, that's not a choice that I would make, because the double consciousness, the intersectionality of those identities, kids are not necessarily aware of either of those things. Mm-hmm. And when you're constantly confronted with those conversations, it makes you feel weird in your body, because I don't have the words to signify upon the experience I'm having, but I know the experience that I'm having is weird because it makes me feel weird in my body. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying?
Appreciate y'all for rocking with us for another episode of Blackmail Voices. This is Dez, and I am here with
Gee.
And we will see you next time on the next episode.
Peace.